Oh, of all the things, my mother said, smiling and still clearing a few of the tears from her eyes. I never expected such a wonderful gift. Thank you, Gabriel. And now we both know how to play the piano. Perhaps you could pick up a few more songs for your repertoire, and we could play together. Yeah, I replied, smiling back at my mother, as she gave me one last hug as the applause finally began to die down. After that, there was some time when the people in attendance at the party obviously spent some more time doting over us, applauding us on such wonderful gifts for our mother. Many telling me about how wonderfully I learned to play the piano. But finally, they gave us some space, beginning to muddle about at their own regular tasks, talking business and whatnot again. I was just happy that the attention was off us. Wow, bro, Michael replied, looking over in my direction. Way to show me up. You know, it might have worked if you told me about that whole piano bit. We could have done some sort of duo or something. But instead, you just showed me up. Way to make me look like a slacker, bro. Oh, come on, Michael, I replied. It was just a gift for Mom. Don't start getting all green with envy. It's not as if I like the attention from all those people. It's just bothersome. Of course you do, Gabriel. It is bothersome. But that doesn't mean it doesn't reflect good on Mom and Dad. One way or another, I know you're probably going to be the one ending up running Dad's business. No way, it's going to be you, I replied to Michael. I mean, you're the strong one, good at sports and stuff. Dad dotes over you for those fencing lessons. And then you're a star at the track team on top of that. I mean, seriously, you're like the fastest person on that field. It's barely even a contest. No way I can run that fast. Hey, don't put yourself down, mechanical genius. Don't forget, Dad's business is in technology. I can be big and strong all I want, but you're the one who knows the technology. Building stuff, that's your thing. So it seems the reason that it would favor you. Yeah, maybe as like some sort of lead engineer or something like that. But don't forget, the actual business itself isn't about knowing the technology or how to make stuff yourself. Mostly it's business, paperwork, and telling people where to go and what to do. Leadership skills more than anything. Honestly, out of the two of us, you've probably got more of that, I said to Michael as our little argument continued back and forth, each of us suggesting that the other one was most likely a better candidate for who was going to eventually take over Dad's company. At which point we were interrupted. Are you two going to argue all night? A female voice said from nearby. Me and Michael both looked simultaneously to see Lilith approaching. Lilith was both our classmate as well as the daughter of one of the more prominent families in Newgate City. She was also a good friend of ours. I swear, you two bicker like an old married couple. You could just get rings and get it over with. Ew, we replied simultaneously. Gross, Lilith. She giggled a bit. Oh, come on. You know I was just kidding. Yeah, but I wish your jokes didn't gross me out that much, I replied. Well, I saw your performance, Gabriel. Nice going with the piano. I think you really scored some mom points. Those come in handy, especially when you get into trouble, Lilith said, smiling. I'm glad that I have them. I do get in more than my fair share of it. Well, yeah, that's because you're a troublemaker, Michael replied. Perhaps if you spent a little less time trying to get into places you weren't supposed to be, you wouldn't be in as much trouble. Hey, how are you supposed to be a snoop if you don't snoop? I have to sharpen my skills as an investigator some way. And what better way than by snooping around? Learning things that adults don't want to tell you. They always sugarcoat everything for us. Oh, you don't really need to know that, sweetheart. Says you, Lilith said, waving her hand a bit and gesturing that it was nonsense. Besides, being good at sneaking around has its advantages. For example, I managed to snag a few trays of food and sneak them away so we can get away from this party. Something that you can't do unless you're good at sneaking around, Lilith said, smiling. But I'll only tell you if you admit that being a snoop is good. Otherwise, no food for you. Oh, come on, don't be like that, I said, rubbing the back of my neck a bit, as I did want some food, and trying to shuttle through the adults to get to it. It wasn't really an appealing concept. Say it. All right, being a snoop is good. Yeah, being a snoop's the tops, Michael replied with a grin. So, where's the grub? Lilith gave off a smile and turned around, beginning to skitter off in the opposite direction of the party, walking down the hallways until she found one that was out of the way, leading us that direction, and opening a door into a confined closet that she had apparently gathered some fixings for, setting up several small lights around the room. It was fairly confined, but within it you could see that she had set several trays of food down on the ground, some cheese and meat trays, along with a couple dessert trays. She ushered us in and closed the door behind us. There wasn't really a light in this closet, hence why she brought some lights herself, quickly wandering over and taking a seat beside the trays, being the first to grab a dessert. A lemon pie, her favorite. Well, anytime now. There's no telling how long it's going to be till the adults decide to start looking for us. So, myself and Michael sat down alongside Lilith and began eating our way through some of the food in the trays, laughing and regaling each other with some stories about school and what we had been up to lately. Lilith was a strange character. As of yet, she was undecided as to what she wanted to be once she was an adult, caught between an investigative journalist and a detective. Whatever she did, she wanted to snoop around, find evidence, sift out the truth, whether it was getting paid by individuals or doing it for something like a paper. She knew she wanted to be a snoop in the end. I was actually sort of envious. Me and Michael sort of had a decided destiny. We were eventually going to run my dad's company, and that was going to be all there was to it. One of us would most likely be put in charge, while the other one did other tasks in the company. So we were a bit envious of Lilith's options, being able to choose her own fate, so to speak. Eventually, Lilith started dishing about some of the scoops that she had come up with whilst sneaking about. You're never going to believe this. I heard Miss Rattendale got caught having an affair with her tennis instructor. Her husband is of course livid. No news as to whether they're getting a divorce yet, but they're fighting like cats and dogs. It was about that time in the conversation that the door to the closet space that we were hiding ourselves away in suddenly opened up. And there you are, a tall, slender man said, quaffing his hair a bit. You have been the talk of basically everyone. Everyone's looking for you. It was Alexander. He was the top stockholder in my father's company, and as well as being CEO of his own company. He had been business associates with my father for years. Oh, and if it isn't young Lilith, I surmise that you might be behind this impromptu disappearance. You do love sneaking about, don't you?
Yeah,
Lilith said, a bit nervously. And you two. You had your mother worried sick, wondering where you had gotten off to. It's closing in on your two bedtimes. It is running late after all. So you're to go back up to your penthouse.
Well, can I go with them?
Lilith said, standing up to her feet.
I'm sure my parents can come get me as usual. Until then, I can just hang out with Michael and Gabriel.
No, there will be none of that, Alexander said. These two most likely have homework to do, and they have to get ready for bed. They have a busy day planned tomorrow. Major things coming up, and they'll need to be present, accounted for, and well rested. So they can't afford to be distracted by a little snoop. Now, run along, whilst I escort these two back to their rooms.
Oh, Killjoy,
Lilith said, as Alexander gestured for her to leave the closet. And you two hanging about in a closet. This is not a behavior that's appropriate to your family status. Think about what people would say if they found you hanging about in a closet. Really. Come along. I'll have someone come clean this up, he said, looking at the trays with large amounts of missing food set on the floor. Ugh, eating off the floor like animals. Nonsense. Come along, he said, gesturing for us to exit the closet. We sighed deeply. Man, I was really hoping to hang out for a bit longer, Michael said, as he was the first to exit. I followed behind, but kept my mouth shut for the time being.